And one common thing we hear by the third or fourth day, we're not hungry. Because it's not about caloric intake and familiarity, it's about nourishment. And getting the nourishment in the body, all at once you're not hungry. I mean, I used to eat from morning to night as a vegan. Why? Because I wasn't being nourished.
A couple of things. First of all, it is about caloric intake. We have to have calorically adequate diets, and the landscape is littered with people who tried to eat fruits and vegetables and wanted to chew their arm off and eat their desk, and so went back to eating chicken because of that. And so I think we have the raw food diet has a lot of limitations, one of which is that I know it works out for some people, but for the vast majority of people, it doesn't work out. I think the second point that needs to be made is that the reason why the population is getting sicker is not because of cooked food. I mean, the 69% of calories in the Okinawan diet come from sweet potatoes. They're cooking the sweet potatoes. 90% of the Papua New Guinean diet comes from sweet potatoes. They're cooking the sweet potatoes. The rural Chinese are eating cooked food. The Northern Africans are eating cooked food. And I think it's great to eat a lot of raw food. I eat as many raw fruits and vegetables as I can. But I think it would be disingenuous to tell people that if they're eating cooked food, that it's not possible for them to be nourished. Now, having said that, I think that there's absolutely nothing wrong. I mean, we have a colleague who does water-only fasting, no food. And it's a good idea under medical supervision for a period of time. Juicing diets are great for a period of time, but we're trying to get people to do this in their own environment. And we're also trying to stay clear on the science, because it's unfortunate if somebody would come to me and say, I know you said I had to eat raw food, but what's happening with all these other populations who don't do that and they're healthy? I don't know how to explain that.
Well, I'll explain it to you, because we've been doing a study, clinical research on humans, 600,000 to be exact, since 1956. It's never
Can I just ask where you published it? Because I'd like to read it.
We don't publish things because we're under constant scrutiny. I write books for people who are interested in science. And if you're interested, you can read the books. So maybe you don't understand that the same grain that you cook and create acrylamides in and kill the phytochemicals in, these are not opinions, these are scientific facts. Look at the work of the Linus Pauling Institute, Dr. David Williams, who one of the many speakers I have come to the Institute and speak in our series, show you that the medicine in the food is gone when you cook it. The original work on acrylamides were done 28 years ago in Sweden, and now in 17 countries, and the Germans did a pretty good job, but the Italians did the best. Acrylamides are carcinogens once you cook a whole, even an organic grain. Now, I'm not suggesting that what I'm talking about's familiar to everyone or easy to explain to the lay public. There's a difference between approaching getting more people to go on a vegan diet and really understanding the science and not condemning something you don't understand.
I don't want to, we can't, everything has to be published using scientific method, and if it isn't, I don't believe it. And I'll tell you this, that is not foolish. That's science. We're never getting advances of people say, I'm not going to publish my data.
I'm going to write a book. Could you tell me what the word science means to you?
Yeah, science means that we are going to take a study, we are going to make sure that study is replicated, that it's reviewed, that it uses scientific method with scientific analysis. Now, there's over a million publications a year, and only about 5 or 10 that really mean anything. So you have to sit there and have analytical minds to be able to do it. But to say, I don't publish, just tells me that it's not science. You don't publish because you're scared of getting peer review. Now, I'll tell you this, absolutely, positively, listen to me, you do not get acrylamides when you grill vegetables. It's been studied a million times, scientific studies, sorry, in journals. Grill up your vegetables all you want. I do agree with you that certain vegetables you will lose some nutrient values. Certain vegetables get more values when you cook them. It is much more nutritious to eat cooked spinach. It's much more nutritious to eat a cooked tomato. This is scientific fact. And we can make, I hear all this BS, like someone brought up the other day, like the blood type diet. This stuff is crap. There's science, people, and the thing that gets the vegan diet is when we go away from science. You have got to be scientific. You have to have scientific method, it has to be replicated, and it has to be proven before it's going to be accepted by a widespread doctors group. Eat your grilled vegetables, they're totally, completely nutritious for you.
So what you're suggesting is that the science that you like to read and agree with
It's
is the only...
It's the science that's out
Stop.
there, not that I
Stop.
want to read.
Listen, I listen to you. What you're suggesting is that science you cherry pick and choose to read is the only real good science.
Absolutely.
That's the science I just mentioned is not good science.
It's not science if it's not printed, if it's not reviewed.
Let's go back, and maybe you didn't listen. Maybe it went in one ear and out the other.
Don't say it's printed in your
Do
book,
you know
because
who?
that doesn't matter to me.
Every one of my books has validation of science.
It's not
every one of my-
validated science
listen-
unless it's reviewed in a peer review group where we look at the methodology, we look at the statistics, and we see if you did an accurate study. What's your
when
end?
you're
Did
done,
you use a
when you're done,
multivariate
I'll
regression?
explain what my books reflect. When you're done. Every one of my books reflect science that I get out of scientific journals, peer review scientific journals. Now, you asked me specifically, have we done science? The answer is no. We don't have a research team, statisticians, nor do we politically choose to do that. Have we invited people in? I'm right now in discussion with Harvard University. They want to come and do long-term studies.
Talk about Harvard, yeah.
Okay. Number two, I mentioned two people. Have you ever read Dr. David Williams, Linus Pauling Institute?
I know who Dr. Dave
Okay.
Williams is.
Do you know? Have you read his work?
He has no, what
I'm
published
asking
study?
a question.
No,
Have
I've not
you
read,
read his
I've not
work?
read a published paper, and I've
That's
read the
all he
literature.
does is publish papers. He's
Show
a
me the paper
scientist.
that
He's a
shows that there's
PhD.
just show me the paper that shows there's acrylamides and heterocyclic amines when you cook vegetables. That's all I ask. Just show me that paper.
I'll show you those papers, and I'll show you from 17 countries. I'll repeat that again.
Okay.
The most important in my books, Food is Medicine, peer-reviewed science. Out of Italy, the most important. Germany, my wife's country is Sweden, is where it came out of. Their top scientific institution there.
Show me the study.
Okay.
Right.
Now, what you're saying,
Because
before
in
you
my
start,
book, there's a
what you're
reference right
saying-
now, if we could
what
get
you're
it, and I'll
saying
show you the
is if
reference
I
right
show
now.
you the studies with that proof, you're going to instantly change your mind?
I will, yeah, if it proves it.
Oh, good. Well, I don't change my
If you
mind
show me
that
it
quick.
shows acrylamides and I read the study and I look at
I
the
don't
methods.
change my mind that quick.
No, I do.
I look at long-term studies and over periods of time, and then I practice this with people.
I want to just insert one thing, and scientific debate is important. And the one thing I want to add to this is that the fact that it's published doesn't necessarily make it right.
Without a doubt.
And I'll tell you what I mean by that. We took, and I don't care about mentioning names anymore, when we took that idiot book Wheat Belly by William Davis,
Yeah.
all right? I had an intern in my office pull up every study that he referenced, and we were able to pull up every single one of them except for 3. So we got 3 to the extent that he referenced. And then we looked at, we had the intern sit there, and I reviewed the work at the end. We reviewed the reference statement, the reference with the statement to see if it was correct. All right, so he's writing a book about why everybody should not eat wheat. He's got references. It's very deceptive because we did word searches on the studies once we downloaded them to our server. Several times he said that this study shows that wheat's bad for you. Only we couldn't find the word wheat in the text of the study anywhere. It's not a study about wheat.
Right.
So the point that I'm making is that there are levels of scientific validation that we have to consider. And the fact that somebody can produce a study, says here's a study that says this. First of all, does the study say this? Second thing, methodological errors. What was the end? I mean, then you have to look at, is this a good study?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like one of the best books out there, or one of the best books, one of the most popular books out there is Good Calorie, Bad Calorie by Gary Taubes. Some of the people that he references, the authors, is like, that's not what I meant. They took them absolutely, completely out of context. But there's good science and bad science. And when I go to scientific, where there's a room like this and it's all scientists, we have these debates and we yell at each other. But we're debating science. We're like, well, you took 50 people, but you didn't do a student t-test. Instead, you did an ANACOVA test and this complicated statistics. So we're going into what was your scientific method and where is bias that would support a conclusion. Now, when I look at a paper, like if you bring me a paper, I'm not looking at the conclusion. I'm looking at your methods. I'm looking at what statistical analysis you did. I'm looking at, is your N powered enough in order to give me an answer? So there's definitely good science and there's bad science. But to me, good science and bad science is a lot better than no science. You can't, no one could, if someone just says, hey, I saw 50 people and they all did really well eating X, and therefore X is good for you, that means nothing to me. I need to know how you followed those 50 people. How are you evaluating them? Could there be confounding factors? Maybe X did better because they were also doing Y, you just didn't measure Y. And that's what science is trying to piece through all of this in order to get an answer. And science is going to change. Like what we're telling you right now could change next week. Science can absolutely change, and my opinions have changed. I wrote a frickin' book that told people to eat tons of meat. And so science can definitely change over the time. And it's not, we're arguing, but we're arguing on, we're arguing minutia. I mean, by the long and short of it, if I could send every patient I have over to Hippocrates, I would. And so understand that while we argue as doctors about this stuff, we agree on the vast majority of stuff. It's just the minutia that we're getting at.
I agree with that. God bless you.
I mean, we love each other. Scientists like to argue. And it's sad because scientists, we like to argue. You should see, we get you go to a surgery meeting and the egos get flared and we get some contentious fighting, although we all somewhat agree. The problem is when you guys watch us argue, it makes you confused, but don't get confused about the fact that we all agree on the basics of this idea.